AITA for undermining my SIL's parenting and making her daughter hate her? I have 2 daughters with my husband Max. Max's sister Rose, F30, has a 11-year-old daughter, Anna. Rose never told us who Anna's dad is, and he is not in the picture. Max's mom helped Rose with childcare till she graduated college. Unfortunately, Max's mom died in 2020 due to COVID. Rose had to leave city for a month for her work. She asked if we could take in Anna and we agreed. In our house, my kids are responsible for washing their own dishes or putting them in dishwasher, putting clothes in laundry and cleaning up their own messes. I don't assign any chores or have them help out more cause I believe they should use that time for studying or any other activities they partake in. But they also don't have phones and have to use laptop in common areas. So they are not goofing off. They both read a lot, which I love, as a bookworm myself. They don't have bedtimes or rule to keep their rooms perfectly clean. I was raised in a house where both these existed and I hated them. Little messiness, while ruining aesthetic, won't kill me. I do teach them all life skills such as cooking, cleaning, laundry, shopping, etc. Even my 8-year-old knows this. I just do this during vacations. I don't like taking time away during school year. They are expected to do well in school and get into activities which they do. This was surprising to Anna when she came to live with us. Rose had strict rules about bedtime, room cleanliness, and asked Anna to help with all chores. My bookworm school-oriented kids made Anna want to study more. She asked if I could help her study like I helped my kids. I said yes, and she performed really well in school that month. Her A's went up on our fridge with her cousins and we were all happy for her. But when Rose came back last month and took Anna home, her grades started dropping again. Anna blamed Rose for making her work so hard and said, "I hate you. I wish, me, was my mom." Rose called and blamed me for putting ideas into her daughter's head. That she doesn't have a partner and can't maintain a perfect house like me. She said I was an off for undermining her parenting and making her daughter hate her. AITA. Comment. So, you provided a safe and loving home for your niece for a month, and your SIL is mad because you didn't make her do chores the way that she does it at home? Did she tell you that her daughter's routine needed to be followed, or was that implied/assumed by her? Honestly, if I were in her shoes, I wouldn't be happy that our routine was disrupted, but I'd be grateful for the help, and grateful to learn how to improve my child's grades. I'd also be a bit hurt that someone else figured out how to parent my child better in any aspect. That's a big blow to the ego she's taking there. It sounds like your SIL is in her feelings about her daughter's comments, and projecting that hurt on you. That really sucks to hear those kind of words from your own kid. I imagine from her perspective as a single parent, she feels she needs her daughter's help around the house to keep up with the day-to-day. I also imagine that kid felt like your house was a vacation compared to what she's expected to do at home and isn't of an age to understand the disparity. You're NTA here, but it sounds like a good, calm talk with SIL needs to happen. If she has any modicum of self-awareness, she can take this revelation as a gift and change things in her household. But please consider, if your children said something like this to you, it would hurt. She's reacting from that. Doesn't make it right, but some compassion for that can go a long way. His was meant to be in reply to another commenter below that was implying child abuse. There's nothing here that indicates this child is experiencing educational neglect or otherwise. Simply a kid who made better grades when the chore pressure was off. Giving someone a wake-up call is not the answer here. Nobody is in danger, and that stance is a surefire way to alienating people. I'm advocating a path to having emotional intelligence about a situation in order to achieve a positive outcome on both sides. There is nothing inherently wrong about mom making her kid do daily chores. We just happen to discover that it's not an ideal balance, and the kid says some really hurtful stuff. One could say that mom should be more mature about it, but that's not the reality here. We don't all operate as our best selves every moment of every day, and there wasn't any mention that mom had habitual asshole behavior. I'm not proposing mom's well-being to trump daughters here. But I would argue that mom's well-being directly impacts her child's. Giving some grace and validation to mom costs nothing and gives everything. Gentle parenting the parent, lead by example. Back in the day is not relevant. There's no implication anywhere of child labor happening. It's chores. Chores do not equal child labor. Just because that child thrives in that household doesn't mean it's inherently better, and it definitely doesn't mean the children are being neglected. I wouldn't have excelled in a household like Op described, I needed the direction, and if I was left to my own devices I'd have just played video games and watched porn. Everyone pretending like the sister is instantly a terrible parent is textbook etiquette. It's really hard to raise a child, and I'm sure it's gotta feel terrible to realize someone else is better at raising your child and having your own fucking child tell you the wish someone else was their parent. I can't even deal with feeling like a failure at my job that I care very little about. I couldn't imagine if I felt like a failure at raising my child. I don't think anyone in this situation is an op. It seems like everyone in this little girl's life seems to care a lot about her and her success in life. It could be the chore pressure being less and op's ability and time to help niece with her homework. SIL might not have the time, and since niece is younger, op probably knows how some subjects are taught now versus 10 to 20 years ago, like how math teaching methods have changed, assuming op is in the US. Or op's more refreshed on the topics. So it could be a combination of things. I only commented about the tutoring because SIL can possibly change parts about helping niece with her homework as well. Agreed with everything you said. Wish SIL would treat this as a learning opportunity to explain to her daughter why their homes are different, and maybe even work with daughter, maybe with advice from op, to relax some things, like the strict bedtime, for example, provide daughter support so her grades and happiness aren't being sacrificed, and still give SIL the help she needs as someone having to carry all the parental and financial responsibilities by herself. When my mom went back to work after years of being a Sam, I had to learn how to cook, do the house's laundry, and take care of the dog in high school. Yeah, I didn't have to do that stuff before. It's a whole thing and not the point. But I did it and never resented my mom for it, because she explained to me why she needed me, and I also saw how hard she was working and wanted to make things easier for her. 11 is definitely old enough to understand that sometimes even parents need help, but it sounds like SIL is just dropping rules instead of having a conversation with her daughter, which I even get to an extent. Sometimes you're tired and just want your kid to do what they're told, and that's causing a lot of resentment. I feel for everyone in this story tbh, though of course I don't think SIL's handling this situation all that well. Next story 2. AITA for turning down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle. I have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The decision was made for 2 reasons. My dad died when I was 7 and he would be my number 1 choice if he were alive, but he's not, and 2, my mom has made it perfectly clear that she would find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she walked me down the aisle and so would not do it. Given that both my parents are out and I don't want to ask my paternal grandparents to do too much, my grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what I feel the most comfortable doing. I could ask my stepdad, and even when I contemplated my decision, I knew he would want to do it. But it would make me sad to have him walk me instead of my dad, if I'm honest. I think my stepdad is a good man and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me. But I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else was ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mom and stepdad if they would like to do a joint toast or 2 separate ones, and whether they would like to walk down the aisle/dance to specific songs. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who I would be walking with, and I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it and I said it was a lovely offer, but I would walk alone. He pressed me on why and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it, if just once he could feel like he's a real dad and not just second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should be a father/daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about details on our relationship, etc. I met my stepdad when I was 9 and he married my mom when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, and I turned him down 5 times in the 8 years I lived with them. He was married before my mom and he lost his wife and unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. Where he sees a daughter and wants a daughter, I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mom and is good to me, but does not fill the father role he wants to emotionally for me. Physically, he did. But emotionally I never felt like he was my dad, and everyone in our lives is aware that I feel as though I have one dad and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mom and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiancé and I both have savings and we're putting those into the wedding. Though our wedding will be smallish since we want to prioritize other things. My mom and stepdad say I am rude and heartless for turning down the offer. AITA. Comment. The only rude ones are your mom and stepdad. While I can definitely sympathize with him, he is making your wedding about himself. He may be a good man, but he's definitely very selfish in this particular case. Stand your ground, it is your wedding. Your dad must have been amazing, and I am sure he'll want you to be happy on that day, and every other day. My goodness, I keep having tearing eyes reading you. I'm very happy for you that you get to be loved that much as a child. They don't all have this opportunity. And I am so sorry for your loss. My husband is very involved with my kids, they're very attached to him, and I don't imagine them being able to ever fill the void if something bad happened. First, and in any way. You aren't the reason your stepdad doesn't have kids, nor do you owe him a father-daughter relationship. On a better note, have you considered printing a small picture of your dad/you and your dad to frame and tie to your bouquet so he'll still be with you while you're walking down the aisle? I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but for my aunt's wedding, she had a slightly smaller than palm-sized picture of her bio parents, both deceased, on her bouquet, and then a larger framed photo held by my nana, her stepmom. I'm fuzzy on some of the details, but it was a nice way to include them and it made the moment more special for her. I have also seen tables off to the side of the reception set up as those we wished were here with photos of lost loved ones close to the bride and groom. I think there is also a chance your stepfather walking you down the aisle could end badly for your stepdad's image. If everyone knows how you feel about your stepdad and they see him walking you down the aisle, they might question what was said to make you agree more than they would question why isn't he escorting you. Also, I don't know if it's an option you have considered, but my best friend/sister by choice was fetched from the top of the stairs, the start of the aisle, and escorted down by her groom instead of any other male family member. Do you have any of his ties? I wrapped the handle of my bouquet with one of my brother's ties, also deceased, and pinned it with of my dad's tie tacks. So, in a way, they both walked down the aisle holding my hands even though they weren't there. I carried a picture of me and my dad with me when I walked down the aisle, with my mom, and had picture of him on the table he would have sat at with my mom, and also on a memory table for all those who had passed on both sides of the family. One of my favorite picture that the photographer took of me getting ready is me looking at the picture of my dad and me before I walked down the aisle. I was crying, but I am glad she captured that moment. Sorry for your loss, Op. I am very much a daddy's girl too. My dad used to take time off from work just to bring me to the theme park or malls or just hang out with me before I even started kindergarten. It's been over 2 decades now, and those are some of the memories I hold most fondly of him. I'm so grateful I still have him and am dreading the day I'll lose him. Nobody could ever replace my dad regardless of how nice they are to me. Stand your ground, Op, it's your day. You've been polite and graceful towards your mom and stepdad, even offering to include them in other ways that you are comfortable with. Sometimes it sucks to have people love you more than you're able to love them, and it's okay. Celebrate your day. Hopefully your mom and stepdad will come around. Your wedding day is probably one of the few days you're entitled to put your wishes and wants slightly above others.